Hi, it's Tamara Learning here.
And Amber Gould for M-Link Podcast.
We're here with Sue Prestedge, the coordinator for pre-media. Hi, Sue. How are you?
Hi, how are you two?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
So, could you explain to us exactly what the program pre-media is all about?
Pre-media was established approximately 4 years ago, and it came about as the fact that a lot of students were coming out of grade 12 thinking they should get into media, but it soon proved in their fall semester that they didn't have a clue on which media stream they should be in, television, radio, journalism, whatever. So pre-media was put together for those people that were unsure and made it a one-year certificate program. And it sampled a lot of things in various forms of media. So people were in a better position to apply for the course where they probably find more success than in others as a result of, having a chance to see what television did, what journalism did, what advertising did, and that kind of thing. And over the years, it's proved to be quite successful because some students decided they didn't want to be in media at all. And that's a good thing, too, because then you don't spend 3 years, spending your money on an education that you truly hate and that you don't want to be in that career at all.
With your experience teaching within pre-media, what habits do you find in students as exam week comes by the end of semester?
Everybody's tired. That includes the profs. Because we've got a lot of marking to do, but it's all that stress. The stress load factor towards the end of the semester is ridiculously high because you have exams, you have projects to finish off. You're wondering what your marks are going to be like. You're stressing about, do you have a job for the summer? If you're a graduate of a program, you're wondering, am I going to get hired, into the career that I want? So I think it's all those stresses come together at the same time.
When you were a student, did you find any rituals or routines you would use before your exams or tests?
I always use the focus theory. The focus theory is this. Let's say I have an exam on Monday. I am going to focus all my attention on that exam for Monday, but I'm also going to say, you know what? By next Tuesday, everything's over. The exam's over. No matter if I did well or I didn't do well, it's over. So always being able to say, yeah, there's an end in sight. It's not just about, it's so overwhelming, I can't possibly, handle all the things. But, I think I say this every year to the students is if you can get those assignments done before the deadline and a long time before the deadline, you feel so much better because when that deadline's coming, everybody is running around with their head cut off and you've got it done. And what a tremendous feeling that is. So that doing those assignments in advance is really helpful.
So I'm understanding you teach a class called Succeeding Post Pre-Media. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Succeeding Post Pre-Media is more about how you handle yourself in any given situation and also what your strengths are, because I don't think a lot of people understand what their true strengths are. They might, but in a lot of cases they don't know what their strengths are. And I start that class in the first couple of weeks by saying, cast your memory back to when you were a child. What was that one thing that you did as a kid that you just loved doing, that you could spend hours doing, and you wouldn't realize the day had just flown? So, the students were really good sharing with each other. I remember, from year to year. And basically I say, okay, what can you take from that to say what you should be doing? Because while we may mature and we may learn more, those passions that you established as a kid may jump off in every direction. One of my students told me that she had this huge dollhouse, and she loved that dollhouse. And she said it wasn't about playing with dolls. It was about repapering the walls and doing stuff with the furniture. And I said, what about interior decorating? She said, I'd love it, but my mother says that she doesn't think I'm smart enough to do that. And I felt so horrible because to have a parent sort of like send you off on another direction because they don't think you can do it is pretty sad.
What did you want to be when you were younger?
I came into this program thinking I was going to be the best person in advertising sales you could possibly imagine, that I could sell anything to anybody. And then I found out after my first year I was so bad that if I wanted to specialize in that area, I'd have to do my first year all over again. So I chose broadcast journalism instead.
How did the opportunity come for you to teach this course?
Oh, that's interesting. I had been in the business for about 20, close to 30 years, I guess. And I was doing an early morning radio show called Ontario Morning for CBC, and I had to be in by 4, so I was usually done about noon or 1. And I finally got to the point where I couldn't nap in the afternoon anymore. It was just impossible. My body just wasn't letting me do it. And I thought, I've always been interested in teaching. So because I knew Mohawk well, because I graduated from here, I called the coordinator of the program and said, is there any opportunity for part-time teaching? He says, well, what an opportunity. Our coordinator, check this out, our coordinator for journalism just quit. How would you like that job? And I wasn't thinking of anything full-time. But once I started, I loved it. I really enjoyed being with the students.
That's amazing. From your success as a teacher and just getting up to that point, do you have any tips or advice for students in college? Like, any advice?
Yeah, I would say that if you're given the opportunity to do something, whether it pays or not, but is related to what you want to do in a career, grab it. I mean, that's something that you can put on your resume that maybe somebody else won't be able to. Anytime there's that opportunity to do something like that, grab hold of it and run with it. Make your connections now. Don't be afraid to go to conferences. I tell some of my students, I said, as you get into your diploma programs and whatnot, spend the money to get some business cards made. It's not hard. It's not expensive. And that way, when you meet someone, you can actually hand them something with your contact information. People do keep those cards. They do. And, touching base with that person again, maybe a couple weeks after you've met them is really important too. Because then you can say, maybe a year down the road, just stay in touch with them because you never know who they know who might have a job. So that's, I guess, a piece of advice that I would give them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting us interview you today.
Thanks very much. Also, just one more quick question. It's exam time. People are studying now. What are your main tips for studying for students?
Okay, find an isolated place to study. Don't make it the most comfortable place in the house, like a couch or a bed, because you'll probably go off to sleep if it's that comfortable. Get rid of any distractions. That means no television on, no cell phones. Turn your cell phone off, put it in a different room. Nothing is that urgent that you have to answer that phone or look at a text message while you're studying. Divide it up into chunks. Don't try 4-hour marathon studying because it's not going to work. Probably the first hour you'll take in knowledge, but after that it's kind of like a slow roller coaster because you just can't concentrate for that long. And I'd also divide up my subjects. If I've got 3 exams, for instance, I'd study 4 chapters out of one subject and then take a break, and breaks are important, and then study 4 chapters from something else, et cetera, et cetera. It's that variety that will keep you at least interested in what you're doing.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. This was Tamara Learning
And Amber Gould for MLink Podcast.
We'll talk to you next time.